Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining
Hey,
us.
everybody.
Hey, John. It's good to see you. We're here on DeProgram. It's John Kiriakou and me, Ted Rall. It's Wednesday, June 18th. And obviously, we're living in scary times when the Director of National Intelligence indicates that we're teetering on the brink of nuclear annihilation and World War III. That's where we are right now. We are basically Donald Trump has a little angel on his shoulder in the form of Tulsi Gabbard, urging him not to support Israel and bomb Iran. And he has a little devil. He has a lot of little devils, mostly in his cabinet, on his other shoulder, who are urging him to go ahead and drop a 30,000-pound bunker buster bomb on Iran and go all in. And obviously, the president is torn.
Yeah, he was torn, it appears, until about a week ago. He went to the G7 summit in Canada, and word leaked out that he had told all of these other leaders that he was not going to attack Iran. That was followed up with a phone call to each of the foreign ministers from Secretary of State Marco Rubio, reiterating we were not going to attack Iran. And then 24 hours later, Donald Trump started getting a little cute in his comments that, well, you never know, and we control the skies over Iran, which of course we don't. And then he began moving assets. We normally have 30,000 troops on the ground in the Middle East at any given time over the span of 9 bases. He's already upped that to 36,000 troops. We're going to 40,000 troops by the end of the week. He's directed the USS Nimitz to the carrier battle group to steam in from the Indo-Pacific. And he's ordered the USS Carl Vinson, which the Nimitz was going to replace. The Carl Vinson was going to go back to San Diego to remain in the Arabian Sea. And then, taunting Ayatollah Khamenei that we're going to let you live for now, and we're going to use this, bunker buster, 30,000 pound bunker buster bomb to destroy the nuclear program. It's like, look, the Iranians, first of all, are going to retaliate, probably by using terrorism, and they're going to withdraw from the Non-Proliferation Treaty, and then for sure they'll have a nuclear weapons program. So I just don't get what the end game here is.
A lot of questions. So what happened here, right? I mean, it really seemed, first of all, Donald Trump campaigned against exactly this sort of thing. Not just this time. He's been consistent here ever since 2015 when he came down the golden escalator in Trump Tower. This has been his politics. He's against big, stupid new wars. This is the biggest, stupidest of all wars. Iran, as you and I have talked about, was the one, it's a real country, as as Ted Cruz needs to learn, or just recently learned, has 92 million people in it. It has a real military with hundreds of fighter jets, albeit old ones. And we can talk about, Iran's failure to, Israel may not control the skies, but they've had more free range than we should have expected. And we should talk about why that happened. Yeah. But, what changed here? Obviously the president's been pressured by forces internal and external, but why the change of heart? I mean, I'm always, like everybody else, I'm always interested when people start talking about we. When I was in Afghanistan covering the war in 2001, I talked to a reporter from the Washington Post, and she said, "Oh, we've just captured Kunduz." I said, "Who's this we you're talking about?" I didn't join the Northern Alliance. I'm not a soldier. I'm not an Afghan soldier. Who's this we? Oh, you know what I mean. And, it's like, well, I did know what she meant. The U.S. was aligned with the Northern Alliance. The Northern Alliance had captured Kunduz. But when the president starts saying we, he means I'm in with Israel. And so how did that happen so quickly?
Yeah. How did that happen so quickly? Did he take a call from Jared Kushner? Did Did Benjamin Netanyahu promise him something that we're just not aware of yet? It doesn't make any sense to me, unless he thinks this is a way to intimidate the Iranians into accepting a nuclear deal that's just not acceptable to them anymore. It's funny to me too. I gave. Say again?
Another Trump bluff. Like to try to force a deal.
Yeah, another Trump bluff. But the thing is he thinks that these bluffs work, that they're strategic, that they force people to the negotiating table, and they don't. All they do is they piss people off. And that's why there was no deal with North Korea at the end of the first Trump administration. And if he thinks that the Iranians are going to react well to a threat of force, especially at the hands of what the Iranians call the Zionist entity and its master, then he's living in a fantasy land.
Yeah, I agree. And then there's the broader question of, first of all, how would this look, right? So the United States blows up, let's say, helps Israel, blows up the nuclear program. I mean, there's going to be consequences. I mean, so first of all, can Iran then reconstitute its nuclear program, now that it's obviously been degraded substantially by Israeli bombing and then U.S. bombing? Can it? I mean, and then how, I guess is the question. And then obviously they should. They'd be stupid not to. I would. And then if I were them, and then, what are the chances of regime change? I mean, we're hearing that ugly phrase for the first time since the Bush years, like, oh, well, this could topple the regime. I don't see it that way. I think it's more likely to strengthen the regime.
Yet another thing that the president does not understand, and it's not just the president. I blame those around him, and it was the same thing with the Democrats too, and with the Bush people. Is when you are an invading and occupying power, you are almost never seen as a liberator, except Ukrainians believed that the Nazis were liberating them in 1940. Right. But that is almost never the case. You're seen as an occupier and an invader and a country to be resisted at all costs. And this is what I think we're headed for with Iran. The Iranians, whether they love the Ayatollah or they hate the Ayatollah, whether they love or hate the IRGC, they're going to pull together to resist these invaders. Mark my words.
Yeah, no. I totally believe that. And I guess, so now, we have a bunch of debates that are, redolent of earlier debates in American history within our lifetimes. At the end of the Vietnam War, Congress pushed through the War Powers Act, which, it's like one of our many laws that was passed with great fanfare and just seems to get routinely ignored. But basically, it was an attempt to reiterate Congress's authority as delineated in the Constitution to declare war and deploy troops for any amount of time. I mean, the Constitution does allow the president to, in a case of an immediate emergency, to deploy troops in a very limited way. But to actually go to war for any kind of sustained period, that's supposed to be the purview of Congress. Yet, we've had countless wars, for example, since 1941. But 1941 the last time that Congress declared war. I mean, hard to believe, right? We didn't, Congress didn't declare Korea or Vietnam or Iraq or Panama or Grenada, and I can go on and on. We have senators who are scrambling to pass sort of a War Powers Act 2.0, bigger and better. We'll pay attention this time. It seems like this has some meat on the bones, and it might get some bipartisan support.
I think it is. Rand Paul said that he's all in, and then you've got You've got Mark Warner, the chairman, the vice chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, and Tim Kaine. Tim Kaine's actually the major sponsor, along with Bernie Sanders. Mm-hmm. So you're right. There are a lot of libertarian Republicans who are just saying, "Whoa, Nelly, wait 1 second. Nobody's even asked Congress to authorize a war, let alone to talk about using bunker buster bombs and B-2s and B-52s." And this was another thing that was interesting to me. I read this in the Washington Post today, and I want to say this before we switch to Ted Cruz, because I know a lot of us want to talk about Ted Cruz. But we have B-52s in Diego Garcia, which is an island in the Indian Ocean or the Indian Ocean and Arabian Sea area that the British occupy, and they depopulated it forcibly to turn the entire island into a military base, which of course the United States uses. So we have B-52s there. And the reason that's important is that the B-52 is not strong enough to carry a bunker buster bomb. I just learned this today. The bunker buster, each one weighs 30,000 pounds. And so you need a B-2 stealth bomber, long-range bomber, to carry the bunker buster. The B-2 is based in Missouri, and it's going to have to be refueled twice on the way over. It drops the bombs, and twice on the way back, which is a 30-hour nonstop flight. So if anybody in Missouri happens to see these B-2s take off, you know it's on.
So let me explain for people who don't really understand. So about bombs, right? So I was a physics major before they wisely threw me out of engineering school. And so bombs are, the explosive load is, the explosive power of them is exponentially based on their weight. So the standard bomb in the US arsenal is 400 pounds or 800 pounds, right? That's like they call those dumb bombs, the kinds that you just throw them out of the plane. You kind of like they land wherever. They're not guided. That's like the vast majority of bombs that are used in places traditionally like Gaza. Now they're more guided, but at the beginning of the war, an 800-pound bomb is not twice as powerful as a 400-pound bomb. It's 4 times more powerful. A 1,200-pound bomb would be 3 times more powerful, and so on. And so a 30,000-pound bomb, I think the best way to compare it to, it's like a mini nuclear bomb. I was, again,
yes.
Afghanistan story. So I was in Talokan in late November, early December of 2001. And one of those was used, I don't know why, but it was used against this tiny bridge, not about 20 miles, well, actually 26 miles west of Talokan. And I didn't know what had happened. I was sleeping in the middle of the night. The ground starts shaking, and dogs start barking, and there's like a blast of air, and windows broke. Windows that had survived, years of conflict there, right? And because this is it was 2001. Most of Afghanistan had been destroyed, and then. So the next morning I went and talked to another reporter who was staying at a nearby guest house, and she informed me that one of these BLU-82 bunker busters had been dropped on a target 26 miles to the west. And I was like, wait, what? You mean 2.6 miles? She's like, no, 26 miles. And I'm like, but I thought it was an earthquake until I felt the blast of air, or I thought it was a nuclear weapon or something. I didn't know. You have no news, you have no radio. So the whole area had been, everything for a half-mile radius was dead, right? Completely leveled, and it sucks up all the oxygen, all the air in that area. So even if you're not like at the blast center, at the center, you're going to die because there's not going to be air for like 3, 4, 5 minutes.
It collapses your lungs.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it collapses your lungs.
Every animal was dead too. Hundreds of villagers, all Northern Alliance. It was a Northern Alliance controlled village too, stupidly. But the point is the level of damage is hard to really appreciate, from TV or, when they just talk about like, what is it? There's nothing like it, There's very few things like it. It's like the end of the world.
It's like the end of the world. This thing, because of its sheer weight, it can. Well, it's kind of a fallacy to say that it can burrow, but this is burrowing is akin to what it does because it's so big and so heavy. It can burrow down to and explode deep enough to destroy something that is protected to 300 feet. Now, the main Iranian nuclear facility is at 300 feet. And the non-bunker busters, the big ones, the 5,000 pound bombs that the Israelis have, can get down to about 200 feet. This is the only thing that can totally destroy this facility. But again,
need to work.
Then what do you do? Because the Iranians are just going to rebuild, probably doubly so, because they're going to be so angry. I would probably bet money that the Pakistanis help them, the Iranians help them, and once everybody is certain that the Iranians have the North Koreans will help them. Once everybody's certain that the Iranians have a bomb, then the Saudis are going to announce their bomb. So this is just there's no good news in this issue. None.
Before we get to Senator Cruz and his geography lesson, let's talk a little bit about Iran's stockpile. So Iran is basically in the game as long as they have long-range missiles, right? So the rumor on mainstream media is that they have about 2,000, long to medium range ballistic missiles. You don't have to be a math genius like Ted Cruz to count and see that, like, hey, if this goes on for a few more weeks, they'll all be gone. They're sending out about 100 or so or more sometimes every night towards Tel Aviv. Is that true? Do you think they might have more than that? And then what?
Well, I heard that, and I did some research today to try to pin it down. It's not exactly so clear cut that the Iranians are running out of ICBMs. What is more clear is that the Israelis have destroyed 1/3 of Iran's launchers. So it may be that they just can't get them loaded and launched quickly enough. And that's why we're seeing fewer on their way to Israel.
Is it game over when they run out? If and when they run out?
Yeah, I think it is.
Because this is a ground war. I mean, it's not.
Keep in mind too that the Israelis are very happy. Yeah, and keep in mind that the Israelis are very happy to commit war crimes by targeting the civilian infrastructure, just like the U.S. did in Iraq in 2003. They've already destroyed Tehran's water treatment facilities. They're going after electrical grids and gas facilities. They're gonna destroy the civilian infrastructure so that the Iranians are going to be set back years.
And of course, it does look like the president of the United States is fully, he's totally vested here. We kind of talked about this, but I've thought about it more since the last time we talked about it. And I do think that a lot of Trump's calculus is he just likes to win. It's sort of like how you go to the baseball stadium. When a team is losing, nobody's there. The seats are cheap. When they're on a winning streak, all the fans are there. I think Trump didn't expect the Israelis to do so well early on, and then he's like, "Oh, I want me part of that. I want to be in. I want to be able to say that I won." I mean, I don't think he has any understanding of it's the long run that matters more